Good evening. Sound check first off. To our listeners, chat in the little box, say yay or nay. Yay.
All right.
Yay! Awesome. It worked first time. We love Elena.
Oh my God, we have sound right off the bat.
Yes, she's a miracle worker. So, good evening. Welcome to the DCC Dying Earth preview. For those who missed the broadcast during virtual GaryCon a couple of months ago, we're going to be talking about the project itself and showing off a lot of cool art. And stay tuned till the end for the big announcement.
A big announcement.
Oh, I'm so glad we have Bob here.
Right? So, for those of you not aware, Marc Bruner with us here is the project head, and he has done a killer job of putting all of this together, including, putting together the team. So, Marc, can you tell us about some of the goals of this project, like how to make it a setting that feels like Dying Earth, but is still properly DCC?
Yeah, I mean that was the at the onset. That's what Joseph's charter was. Is that he really wanted a place where players and judges could take their campaigns and basically play in the Dying Earth as a world. So we pretty much are trying to stay true to the books and incorporate and expand on what in some cases what is only a line of dialogue, or like a throw off reference, and really trying to fill that out so that you can actually play it in DCC, but without changing the core rules, because this is a DCC game. It's intended to be played and intermingled even with DCC, because a lot of what we do with Dying Earth, you could even it could be a setting for normal DCC characters. It's we're not trying to take new rules and make it unique to the setting. We're really trying to say, what would Dying Earth look like as a place in DCC? But as part of that, we are also offering a lot of unique things that you can incorporate into the campaign, like new characters that have their own sort of abilities and their own write-ups and uniqueness that are true to the books, or at least we hope they're true to the books. So judges that are really looking to say, I want to play in the world where there are magicians, I want to play in the world where there are bat things or witches or wayfarers, they have the option of that. But really, if you know DCC, you're going to know DCC Dying Earth. We're just expanding it to make a setting that you can play in that's going to feel true to the books.
And I think you guys knocked it out of the park.
The
rest of the team includes authors Julian Bernick, Terry Olson, and Bob Brinkman, who's also here with us tonight. So, Bob, what kind of things can we look forward to in DCC Dying Earth?
Oh, you can look forward to a lot of wonderful things in DCC Dying Earth. For example, we have grudge rules. We've got new curses for the witch class. I love the witch class. It's a personal favorite of mine because I've always loved DCC curses, right? There's curses, there's new magic rules, there's something like 35 new spells.
49.
Oh, 49. Actually, look at that. It's the number has grown since I last looked. Yeah, so there's 4 new classes, character creation, rules, setting details, a whole lot of new magic, new patrons and patron spells, new creatures. And of course, as I loved to say it, new adventure modules to take your characters from level 0 to level 5 and beyond. It's just chock full of great stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, the voice. And of course, one of those elements, if you are dealing with any project that has the Vance name on it, you're looking at some really Vancian language, for lack of better phrasing.
I like to call it Bernickian, but yeah, Vancian works.
Olsonian works too. Marc, how did you go about organizing this project to capture that Vancian feel?
I think one of the first things I did when I began work on the project was similar to what Joseph has described in the past when he encounters a new book, is really just writing down all the words that I intend to look up or that I intend to, kind of go back to. But as I was doing this as part of the project, it was really now the goal is, wow, we actually have an opportunity to incorporate some of that language into the guidance we're giving to our writers or to the artists even to a certain extent. So one of the first pass throughs, I ended up with hundreds of words that just were the Vancian, whether they are the Vancian neologisms that he's created or they are just obscure words. So I had a list, and I started with basically a big spreadsheet. It eventually got to, I think, 400 words is what I ended up with, just in terms of
405.
405. And by the way,
the list has grown while you were waiting. See, this happened to me too.
404. Sorry.
Jen hasn't mentioned this, but she is the editor on the project, and she has done such an incredible job. So she knows the project inside and out as well, and we would not be anywhere near where we are as far as getting ready for her launch without her. So thank you so much, Jen. But she knows these counts like I do as well. So I had these 405 words, and so what I started doing was, well, there's a couple of fun things that we can do. We can obviously hand out a list of words for authors as inspiration, right? So kind of playing off each other and saying, how many words can you get into your section of the work, that kind of fit and make sense. And then also coming up with a kind of random table that's part of one of the appendices in the book, so that players or judges, if they want to use this, is maybe they want to just have a way of accessing that information and giving it context too. So there's the word, the definition, or if there's not a definition, just what the context of what Vancey's using it in, and then a quote from the novels. And so hopefully that's an inspiration for players of the table, especially players that are maybe new to Vance and are encountering some of the language for the first time through the DCC Dying Earth, where the novels is you're reading along with it, but DCC Dying Earth, we have this table of words that you can also access and kind of get to that same information.
Bob, are there any other aspects within this package that you're particularly fond of?
Well, I'm fond of a whole lot of it. I mean,
come on.
Well, I mean, obviously with my verbosity, right? I mean, the Vancian language list is fantastic, and it's really helpful. And the modules themselves are a lot of fun, but being able to dig through all of the monsters and the world building that we were able to do as part of the project, where we were able to say, oh, Mark's like, well, here's your monster. Mark, there's literally 8 words in a sentence that is this monster. Go! It was really a lot of fun, because we'd sit down to create this creature, but then all of those things were shared with the team. And so there was a lot of feedback back and forth. Well, that doesn't quite feel right based on this context. So even though we all had our individual pieces of the project, it was still collaborative, so we could all make sure that it felt right and that it felt Vancian. And that was a really nice bit of camaraderie, as well as, I think, seeing who could come up with the longest title for an adventure, which I might have won.
It was so long that it got truncated, if I recall.
It did. It got truncated.
In the chat here on Twitch, we've got a request for a Dying Earth judge screen with a list of Vancian words on the judge's side. You're not getting all 404 words with definitions. I'm sorry. I will say no.
But I will point out that a stretch goal for the Kickstarter is a judge's screen, so maybe
yes,
200
yes.
words.
And we will dig into that very shortly. One of the other questions is this going to be in the vein of the Pelgrane Press release from, what was it, 2002, I believe? Mark, I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, one of the things I purposely did was stay away from other published RPG sources, in part because I wanted to ensure just my own, what I wanted to come out as a vision, but also to make sure that I was not trying to bring together elements from something, even if I'd read it and wasn't actively thinking about it. So I actually haven't read the Pelgrane Press, the materials for that version of it. Joseph actually was pretty clear about that to me at the beginning, at least, that he preferred that I not try to do that, because we didn't want to try to copy anything what they're doing. I will say that I know that in some of the post writing and post research, one of the things that's come up a lot is in recent discussions is our map, and right, sort of what is our approach to creating the map of the Dying Earth, and that's been its own conversation, because a lot of the maps that are either in the editions that you can get which are artist created, or specific to some of the the novels, not entirely the whole novel, and trying to display the whole, or like the Pilgrim Press. I know those have been looked at for context, just to say what are the possibilities and more possibilities, and we're trying to continue along that vein of make sure that what DCC publishes or Goodman Games publishes is going to be its own take on it, especially as we want to make sure we're not sort of recreating things that are already existing from other groups. That being said, this in itself is at its core DCC, right? And so we're really trying to stay true to the core mechanics of DCC with this release. So there's a lot of material that we're invested in, locations, characters, monsters, language, etc., that are from the novels, but we're not creating a new role-playing system that's separate from DCC. That's not what the purpose of this project is, and I think that's helped us also sort of guide that that line as well.
I see that one other question coming in here is, as part of your communication with the Vance estate, did you have any access to anything not published? And I think I can answer that in 2 words.
Sure.
Pronunciation guide.
Yeah. So we've Joseph has been working with John Vance in the estate, particularly when to get permission, but also to send them versions of the manuscript to get their feedback. And so we've received some positive notes from them, just in terms of what their feedback is on the manuscript. But the other thing that we did have access to was, how do you pronounce some of the words that are in there, because some of the sources that whether you hear the audiobooks, which is one source that we've listened to as part of this project, or you talk to Gary Gygax's sons and talk to them, who obviously were around their household and their father talking the words, speaking the words, but having John's point of view about what his father was saying for the pronunciation, that's something that has been, I think, given to us, and whether we retain that information or not, but hopefully we can bring that to our tables, and also maybe include some of that in our upcoming Twitch shows as we go through the Kickstarter itself.
Oh, come on, we can end all arguments right now. It's Ione Stones. I never would have gotten that. Never in a million years would I have gotten that.
And Yucanu. Yucanu is one of my favorites.
So that's a straight from John Vance, and that's where we've had a lot of fun with, just in terms of the access that he's given us to him.
And either of you, are there any other things you'd like to focus on? Maybe some of the new rules before we get into the cover art?
Well, I think that, again, sort of along the vein of, we want to make the system compatible with DCC, but we want to expand what DCC is. One of the things that I was really excited about, and Terry Olson came up with, or was the project lead on this section of it, was, there are rules for questing for spells and finding and discovering spells in DCC, but what does it mean to actually create a spell? If you, and that's very in the Vancian vein, where, the spells are, owned, but in Fandal and going back into, the golden age, he created those spells, but what does it mean for giving that as an option to our players too, once they get powerful enough? And so there's rules for creating spells, which I really like, because that's again sort of, it's very in the aligned with what the philosophy behind this project was. Take something that's core to DCC, but offer a new set of rules, saying let's expand what's already in the book. So wizards or magicians or witches or even clerics who want to go create their own spells, now there is like a mechanic that we have in the Dying Earth novels that you can use regardless of whether you're going and doing a Dying Earth campaign or you're doing your own campaign. And so that's kind of a fun thing. Like, those kind of aspects are what I'm excited about as well.
Well, and I think even for players who love DCC but aren't necessarily as invested in the concept of Dying Earth, just the magic supplement in this alone is worth it for any DCC player. Creating your own spells and all the new spells and magics, there's so much going on that this is really, it's a lot more than just a setting. It's really, it's expansive.
And it does require that you already have access to the DCC core rules.
Yes, it is. It is still a supplement.
It is still an expansion, so that's kind of important. But you can also get by with the quick start rules, which believe if you dig on the Goodman-games.com website, you can find the link to get those free, or for $5 through the web store. However you want to go with that.
And one of the things that I really enjoyed was Mark gave us a lot of freedom when it came to the adventures we were writing. He's like, okay, here's a basic concept, go. And so I got to write this type of adventure that I really enjoy the most. So Magnific Machinations at the Grand Exposition of Marvels, thank you very much, is the first half of it is investigative. It's it's part mystery, part crawl, and I love being able to sit down and do that sort of adventure. And we had that freedom with this, and that was fantastic.
Well, thank you, Jess. Jess McDevitt just posted the link to the free quick start rules, so that's a huge help. And there's a comment that we're hearing all of this from the Sanctum Secorum. I have to say, not tonight. That's the wrong uniform.
Welcome to the almost but not quite Sanctum Secorum.
There is no prize closet of mystery, but there kind of is. Hold on.
There is the big announcement.
But first, we've got some fancy art for you.
Yeah.
Elena, if you are ready to kick it off with the box set cover. Yeah, there's going to be either the full image or the one with the title on it. Either one. We can start off with that. There we go. The full image without the text. Would we call that the Virgin cover? I think that's the way they've been titling those. This is the full image from Doug Kovacs. And I believe the way we were phrasing this, Mark, was that you can actually see more of these threats that make the sparsely populated wilderness a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah.
And is that our friend Kugel?
That is, yeah.
Prominent scene there? Okay.
That is such a great cover. Oh
yeah, I love this cover. And we talked about this a little bit at the GaryCon, but I think Doug's done a wonderful job of capturing the tone, just that from the descriptions and the setting and the novels, about the dimness of the the sun in its setting, but also the wraparound cover. When you actually look at the full image, you can see in the single version, you can see Kugel sort of in the wilderness going towards, in this case I think it's from the chapter where he goes to the ghost tower, but the wraparound, you can see these threats, and that's really what the when you travel in the world of Dying Earth, the wilderness is sparsely populated. There are only a few thousands of souls left in the world in this kind of the end of time, at least the end of the Earth's time, and these half-human bandits are there waiting to pounce, and that's a great sort of cover to capture how adventuring is in this world, and particularly for these small groups. And that's another thing about Dying Earth, is that we tried to make it's a little bit of a balance, because a lot of the novels are focused on singular stories, maybe a pair of people that are adventuring, not quite like a party of people going out in the wilderness. And so it's a little bit more of a mixture between Lankmar and DCC, where we're thinking groups of 3 to 4 players in a setting. But of course, judges can shape that however they want. It's just that we want to have it be a little bit more of that isolated feeling, and not have it's not intended for large groups. It's more to reflect what's in the books.
And Daniel Bishop would like to ask, is there a 1% chance each session that the sun finally goes out?
we call that option Red Sun Death Crawl. What we call that.
I love it. Elena, could we hit the box set cover? Our wonderful magician behind the scenes here. So that's kind of a truncated version of it. We also have the request in the scrolling chat here for a poster version of that beautiful Virgin art, which I would totally back that. So that will be our box set cover, which will be awesome. And as it stands now, there are 3 volumes set to be in that box. Can we see? Let's. I don't think you have them labeled as book numbers, so we would look at the Player's Library first. And this would be focused on the player material, if I have that right. I know that the contents are still kind of in flux a little bit, but things are edited. It's just a matter of shoving them in the right places.
But this book is all about character classes, character creation. It's about equipment and curios that you can start with. It also provides the introductory information to the players, but it's meant primarily focused on the players and the character creation itself.
And I'm not going to try to repeat the question that Brad McDevitt asked because, yeah, the vocabulary and all of that. I'm just going to say this is, well,
Finder of Doom.
And what, Primer of Practical Magic is our second volume.
And probably the biggest volume, I imagine.
Quite
And that
possibly.
cover.
How many new spells? How many new spells?
Yeah, it's 37 new spells with 12 new patron spells, so 49 total. Yeah.
And this has supporting information for all of the casting classes in DCC. There's even a portion for clerics, should you decide to bring a regular cleric from a DCC game over here. Oh, we've got the deity information for you. There's a good chance your god is dead, and personally, that's one of my favorite parts. I would love to play that flawed cleric that tap, tap, tap. Is this thing on?
Well, cleric, by that you mean 0-level peasant, right? Because he's not a cleric anymore.
But there's so many, people dealing with the philosophy and religion of the Dying Earth that it's really kind of cool. And I believe you'll find those in volume 3, which is the intimate anatomy of, oh shoot.
It is the intimate anatomy of several creatures and personages of the 21st Aeon.
Thank you.
But before we move on to that, Joan had a great question. And yes, these spells can be used in a regular DCC game as well. While they're themed and geared for DCC Dying Earth, magic, we all know magic in DCC is funky and swingy to begin with, and these spells will fit right in at any table.
In fact, Mark included some extra rules in the spell listing to where you can use spells from other settings in here. And there's an expanded list of arcane spells for you.
Yeah, and a lot of these spells are in the context of like named spells. Most of the spells that you'll find in DCC Dying Earth are specifically associated with a creator, and there's a few examples of that in the DCC core book, but we really take those and say, in addition to these spells they create, that they kind of name and own, and what are some of the rules around that entering into a campaign setting as well. So you can lift the spells and take them and play with them, but there's also some fun stuff about, well, you're learning a specific creator spell. What does that mean, as far as possibly getting in a bad or misfire, in addition to just like a failure. Now you may anger, sort of, or trigger like a trap that they may put into the spell that they cribbed, and passed down over the centuries. So there's some fun things like that too, which are part of the core setting, which are neat to find as well.
And the starting librams for the magicians and yeah, as some of you may have noticed, for that third volume, the art is by Lotus. And that one is going to be focused on creatures and kind of more of a judge's tool. So a lot more appendices, your magic items. Yeah, all the good
Jen,
stuff.
by third volume, did you mean intimate anatomy of several creatures and personages of the 21st Aeon?
Maybe.
I think that's half the fun, right? Is looking at book titles that take up a quarter of the cover.
One of the reasons why I'm like, maybe we could eliminate the text for book 3.
No, we need to make it a larger font. That way it can take up a third of the cover.
But why hide the poor Keek?
Well, no, that's true. You don't want to hide the art, but
I believe that creature is the Keek. That's one of Terry's creations, if I recall. Now getting into the cover art for the adventures. And if you missed the GaryCon announcement, you probably haven't seen these before. We have the first piece for the level 0 adventure. That was Mark's, I believe.
The DCC Day one, the Fathoms Below which Isle?
The Black Obelisk.
Oh, Black Obelisk. Okay, that's the level 0 one. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I had to renumber all of them myself. So DCC number 0, the Black Obelisk.
Yeah, so this is one that's basically like an introductory funnel, where we wanted to make sure that we had a way of introducing a group of characters that are going to eventually be part of the campaign. So it is very similar to DCC that we're still incorporating the funnel elements. In this case, there's the adventure is based on a group of pilgrims that are traveling together to get to a religious ceremony, and that's where we start deviating from some of the expectations, and hopefully at the end of it you'll be ready to level up to your magician class or your wayfarer class or your witch class or your Vatkin class.
And I love the image on that one.
Yeah, like all these dancing globules that are bouncing around, and that's an Arrow Lotus one that I really like as well.
And DCC Dying Earth number 1 by Julian Bernick is the Laughing Idol of Larshan. Larshan, not sure which. Him with his pronunciations.
Julian, it would be Larshun.
Yeah. So your guess would be to go pick up this book, right?
This is a fun level 1 adventure that he's been. I'm excited that he got to write, for this, and it's really focused on sort of more the wayfarer, story or class. It's kind of in line with that, but very appropriate for level 1, very Julian adventure.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot of fun.
It's actually, but I will say, having taken a look at it, it's a lot more in depth than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Who did the art for that cover, by the way? Was that wasn't Doug, was it?
For Laughing Idol, I'm pretty sure that's Arrow Lotus.
The Laughing Idol? Okay.
I think so, yeah.
I actually don't have a note in here for that. Dang it, Mr. Goodman.
I'm kind of positive, just the colors alone, and the kind of odd, almost fluid nature to the illustration. Without looking at it again, I would just
that's Arrow Lotus. So yeah, that's his as well.
So number 2, I can tell you, is by Russ Nicholson. The Sorcerer's Tower of Sanguine Slant. Say that 5 times fast. Written by Terry Olson. And this is a level 1 adventure, another level 1.
Level 2. Yeah, this one's level 2. So so we did a sequence of, we tried to space it out. So we have a
0 through 5
6 adventures, I think, and then the DCC Day adventure, but there's a level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5 as part of what's being released with the core the core release, at least.
And number 3, I will let Bob give his title again,
is Magnific Machinations at the Grand Exposition of Marvels. Just didn't fit.
And that lovely art is by Doug Kovacs.
That is indeed, and that is, I love when a cover artist just sort of reaches in my brain, rummages around, pulls images out. Anybody that went through the play tests recognizes all of those scenes that are combined in the cover, including, of course, the little tiny puppet in the hand that's going, "Daddy." So
it's not creepy at all.
No, not at all. No, why would I write something creepy? And I did. I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, it starts with an investigation. An item has been stolen before the Grand Exposition of Marvels, and you are trying to find it on a very tight deadline. So you need to find out who stole it so you can find out where it is. And once you have found that out, that's when the crawl begins, and things do not go anywhere near the way you would expect it to go. Because I'm mean.
Fair enough. DCC Dying Earth #4, I gotta get used to saying all of this,
Yeah.
is The Mind Weft of the Moonstone Palace, written by Mr. Bruner.
Yeah, this is a level. I think the titles here all say level 1, but they're that's just placeholder text. But this is a level 4 adventure. There's this one was a lot of fun to write. It was actually the first one that was written and playtested way in the beginning, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is the one that we as when we were just getting together as a creative product team, it was like, we need to start playtesting. Let's write an adventure real fast. And so that's what this came out of. But it was a lot of fun to write because it sort of solidified in my mind, like, what are some of the really unique things that we want to bring to the setting. So this one has a time travel focus and kind of element to it, which was one of the early concepts that came out of the books, just in terms of, how do we take that in the stories and bring it to the table. And so that's what this adventure kind of in parts, it's part of the narrative that's included in it.
Well, and also when we were doing the playtests, because we playtested like Gary Con, Gen Con, Brinkmanomic, we playtested it everywhere. And everywhere we playtested, the commentary was the same, that it truly felt like a piece of Dying Earth. And it was really interesting to sit down at a table to run it with people that I mean, I knew Dying Earth, but there's people that study Dying Earth like Julian studies linguistic minutia.
They were like the Scatterlight Society, yeah.
And the Vancian Sherlockians essentially.
Yes.
And they were just blown away. It felt like Dying Earth, and I think that gave all of us that were running that playtest such a boost that we were already, we were just kind of starting out, but we were definitely going in the right direction. And it's a tight adventure. It really is.
And I think artist San Julian really captured the dual images of the magician, really tying together that time and time travel aspect.
Yeah, I love that cover.
And the 5th book in the line that we have planned thus far, at least, we have art by Errol Otis again. For number 5 is The Penumbra of the Polar Ape, and that is written by our friend Harley Stroh.
Also, just as a note, Harley contributed to the spells. So I think there's 1 or 2 spells from Harley in our spell list, as well as Michael Curtis and Brendan. Brendan LaSalle also contributed to some of the, I think each of them had at least 1 spell, and in some cases 2 spells. So just want to note that they're part of our writing team, even though they weren't part of the the beginning group. We asked them for their take on Dying Earth, and really love that we got to get them involved, and really love that Harley was able to jump in and lend his work as a creative for this level 5 adventure. So really excited about having his adventure be part of this as well.
And I have a note that this one was originally playtested with an all magician party, similar to something with taken from Rialto.
Yeah, I playtested a version of this early on because I had a concept for it, and then I just realized, we really want some more authors to lend their voice. So I just gave Harley my notes, and he ran with he did the Harley thing with it, which is so much better than what I could have come up with. But when I ran it, and what this is sort of focused on is an all magician party, and it was just really fun, but also pretty crazy because a level 5 Dying Earth magician, I mean, it's akin to the other classes. As soon as you start getting up in those upper levels, you suddenly have these multiple actions, you have this access to the the very powerful spells. But with the Dying Earth, you also have access to your magical helpers, the Sandestines, and those are in itself like its own, like a familiar that has its own sort of quirks, but is also a way for a magician to effectuate magic right through them. And so it gets ramped up really fast as far as this, even though the magicians are can be very fragile when they have, but if they run out of spells, or they run out of the access to those kind of things that augment their powers. But it's just a lot of fun.
I think it's worth mentioning, right? Since we've brought up, Harley Stroh is involved, Brendan LaSalle is involved, Michael Curtis is involved, and there's been a lot of discussion on the DCC Reddit group about gosh, this was announced so long ago. Why is it taking so long? And this really was a Goodman Games family project. I mean, pretty much, almost every writer, for Goodman and almost every artist for Goodman have all been a part of this project. And
oh yeah, just wait for some of the interior art.
Oh, God, the end result it's magic. It really is. There's no other way around it. So many people have put so much time and effort into this, not to mention how long Jen has spent editing this. So many people have put so much time and effort into this that it's really worth the wait.
I mean, I'll say that we're not completely done, but it's really been a group effort. I'll come across a part where I'm like, did we mean this or this? And I'll get feedback from 2 or 3 authors. Oh, okay, you know what? This fits. We'll work with it. I would like to also mention, since we're talking about adventures, I'm going to share a link in the chat here to the DCC Day 2021 lineup. It is, of course, the newest annual holiday. This is the 2nd annual, coming up next Saturday on June 26th. Am I right? Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong calendar. I apologize. June 26th. And in the adventure pack is a Dying Earth themed adventure written by Marc Bruner, Fathoms Beneath Witch Isle. And if you tune in here on this Twitch channel at 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, I can't even read, I apologize. Thursday, June 24th, Julian Bernick is going to be running a sneak peek of that. The players for that adventure will be Clint Bahati, Bob Brinkman, myself, and some guy named Errol Otis. No pressure, Julian. Also, I have to say, personally, don't forget to check with your friendly local gaming store. See if they're participating, see if they've got the DCC Day Adventure Pack and the module, or check goodman-games.com if you don't have a friendly local gaming store. Or if you're just not going out, you're not ready yet, or you can't for whatever reason, you can still get in on gaming via tabletop events, where games are specifically listed. And I'll post that link for you here too, for both new and experienced players. And the cost is supremely minimal compared to previous online conventions. And they have done a great job in lining all of this up. So yes, and in fact, I've got the list right here in front of me. I'm a dork, I apologize. So Thursday, June 24th is the DCC Dying Earth live play, 8 p.m. Saturday, no, that's right. That's why, because Dark Master got my days wrong. Tuesday, June 29th, there's going to be a deep dive into some more of the Dying Earth mechanics that we've got set up for you. Saturday, July 10th, there's going to be a special Sanctum Secorum episode.
A Sanctum Secorum reading room. Quite possibly a new feature.
Let's see, Thursday, July 15th, we're going to have a Dying Earth trivia show at 8 p.m. here on the Twitch channel. And I'm going to make that one interactive. Everyone watching, you may be eligible for something from a thing akin to
the prize closet of mystery.
Thank you. And finally, well, there's going to be a special show on July 21st as well. I'm going to give you guys in the chat one final little link, and you can follow this link to be notified as soon as the Kickstarter launches. Elena, could we take a look at our Kickstarter preview? Awesome. So we will kill some 2 minutes. Awesome. Whew. No, that's perfect. I'll go turn the air down.
Oh, thank God.
Oh my God, what happened here? God bless it. Yeah, Joe has Saturday written down for every day of these events. I'm about to kick somebody. Jack, we can still hear you. Awesome. Intermission is over. Here we go. Our preview for the long awaited Kickstarter. Bob, tell us about it.
In ages gone, the sage had said, his eyes fixed on a low star. 1,000 spells were known to sorcery, and the wizards affected their wills. Today, as Earth dies, 100 spells remain to man's knowledge, and these have come to us through ancient books. But there is one, called Pandaloon, who knows all the spells, all the incantations, cantrips, runes, and thaumaturgies that had ever wrenched and molded space. Welcome to the fantastic world of Jack Vance's Dying Earth.
Shivers. So we're just gonna scroll through a little briefly here so you guys get an idea of what we're looking at as far as what the Kickstarter is going to entail and include, as mentioned.
And since people were asking,
Yeah.
so the various levels are $25 is the Dying Earth box in PDF,
Or just
$50
the PDF of the
box set.
Yeah.
Just the box. $50 is a PDF of the box and modules, or simply the box in print and PDF. For $100, there is an early bird print and PDF box and print set with all the mods. And then the full Kickstarter price after early bird for print and PDF is $110.
Now, just to avoid a little bit of confusion for some of our fans who were involved and backed the DCC Lankmar Kickstarter, I mean, back then you had the box set that included like an extra module and everything. At this point, based on the size,
This is bigger than Lankmar.
Yeah, we're not on screen, so I don't have to show the size again, thankfully. Yeah, this is considerably larger than the text of the 3 primary books included with the DCC Lankmar setting. DCC Dying Earth, the box set will be those 3 books. I not positive that we'll be able to fit anything else. All 6 of the modules, numbers 0 through 5, are extra things that you would pledge for.
And there's also, of course, speaking of not enough room in a box that can barely contain it, among the stretch goals are more spells, more spells, more curses,
I hate you guys.
more patrons, more artifacts, a judge's screen, 100 adventure hooks, more personages, and my particular favorite, monster ecologies and lairs.
I'm really looking forward to
And those are just the announced ones.
to the additional personages. I want those NPC stats. I want to find out more information about some of these people. You know, it might be possible to run into Kugela in your adventures, just like you could run into Fawford or Grey Mouser at any stage of their careers. So I'm really excited for that part. And I believe that is, I don't think we need to scroll through the entirety, but we've got all the fancy graphics there, and the pledges, the pledge structure is pretty cut and dry. And again, that's I own stones.
I love it. I own stones. That's really what it is.
Exactly. So there's most of our big giant announcement. I'm gonna paste the notification link into the chat on Twitch once more. Let's see if we've got any additional questions. Yeah, we do need to fine tooth this with some editing. Someone found a can trap instead of a cantrip. That's helpful.
And an answer to one of the questions in the stream, the early bird is $100 for everything. The regular price will be $110 for everything. So if you miss out on the early bird, you're not going to get crushed with a gigantic price increase. But come on, we all want to be number one, right? I know I do.
We have a question about the physical makeup of the books, like binding or paper. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty confident there'll be paperback booklets, right? We weren't going to do hardcovers for those, Mark?
No, not that I'm aware
insight?
of, and I don't think that's, I mean, unless Joseph has something else in mind for, you know, for like later stretch goals or something like that, that might change the binding. These are going to be similar to the Lankmar bindings over there that are in those.
The early bird pledge for 100 for the whole kit and caboodle is limited to 300. That is correct. In answer to Maseo 13.
Which gives you at least 5 minutes to jump in on the Kickstarter with like 1,100 people following it.
A full tome with all 3 source books together. All I can say is we are not Weird Frontiers.
Yeah.
I think we might run afoul of having another doorstop tome. I'm not sure. What about another $50 to $100 level with Judge Bob the Voice Brinkman reading the box set to us audiobook style?
I've had stranger offers.
Yeah. I can make plans to vacate so he can record that in peace.
Lock the cats up.
+1 for audiobook. Oh my goodness. I love the feedback, the requests for hardcover. These are things that throw into the comments after you back the project. Put them where the Dark Master will see them in text, and who knows what happens. All of the stretch goals, we're going to try to shove everything in there.
I've got to say, Jen, you're really right. If there's things you want to see in the Kickstarter, after you back, throw them into the comments, because like for Crypt of the Devil Lich, there was a lot of back and forth for a lot of different things, and a lot of great ideas
Different
came
options,
from backers. And we ended up using a number of them, and some of them just became extra goals, some of them were just added in. So yeah, that comment section in the Kickstarter really is your chance to have your voice heard. You've already put your money up, so let us know what you're thinking.
And to be clear, I throw no shade at David Beatty. I love.
No, and don't throw the book at him either, because it'll kill him. I love that thing, but it'll kill somebody.
You could hurt yourself throwing it. Yeah.
And I was going to say that as much as we put into the books, and as much as there is in there, we left a lot on the table that hopefully you guys will get to see as part of either the stretch goals or just feedback to say we want more of this type of thing. Because when I was trying to put all this together, I was very conscious about not having it be so big that we couldn't publish it, that Joseph would send and say, this is impossible, come back and edit. I was, in fact, he was very generous with how much we did end up in there, and I'm really grateful that we were able to put a lot of the things that we wanted to. But there is a lot of material that we have ideas from as the project creative team, or just from the notes of when I was going through and creating the 20 tab spreadsheet that I ended up with when I was starting off the project.
That omnibus, man. If
so blow this Kickstarter out of the water so we can immediately sit down and start working on Dying Earth Phase 2.
Yeah,
I'm excited about some of the things
that's the best way to put it. We need more adventures. We need more content altogether. And I mean, again, it's a very expansive, expanded arcane casting list. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is going to be huge, guys. I'm excited and I'm dreading it at the same time, if that makes sense from a professional standpoint. And just because I'm going to paste this link in again, click on notify me. You can put your email in there and it will notify you the minute it launches. And
speaking of which, is it time for, is it time? It is time for the big announcement. Jen?
So Elena, thank you so much for doing the scroll work for us on that. No worries.
The announcement is so big that we have to upload it across the web.
Just us. I can't stress it enough. Click that link, get notified as soon as the Kickstarter launches, and get ready because it's going to be next week. I've been authorized to tell you by the Dark Master that it will hit sometime late Thursday, June 24th, quite possibly during the live play. I'm so excited I could squeak. Or something else, yeah. So that is your preview for DCC Dying Earth. I'm a little squiddly at the fact that this whole thing is going to be on the interwebs forever and ever now, but there we go.
You did great. Thank you so much, Jen.
It's really great. The first time working with both of you, this is very exciting to me.
We should do some more projects together.
We should do something together. Maybe a podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, Mark.
Yeah, we will.
All right, guys. Take care. We'll sign out now, and we will see you back here on this Twitch channel very soon.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.